All right. Whoa, cool. Holy shit. All right. Ooh, we got 2 viewers. Very nice. Oh, yeah. Hey, guys. How you doing? I don't see any sort of chat box. I see a chat box. There's one over here on the right. But I don't think that goes to YouTube. I'm a computer. I know what I'm doing here. There we go. A little bit of the old computation. Fuck. Seven viewers. Okay. Hey, if anybody is watching this, leave a. Can you leave a comment on Facebook there and let me know you're watching? Because I don't know what's going on right now. I'm not going to tell this story unless anybody's watching. But I do have one hell of a story that's going to rock your world. It's going to rock you. The story's going to rock you. Be ready for a story that will rock you. Are you ready for a story that's going to rock you? This is kind of dumb, man. I wish I could see, I wish I could chat with you folks while this is going on. This is not really a hangout, is it? It's just kind of like something, some techno thing. I'm not into that. I'm into old school. I like to see a man's eyes when I kill him. Man, this really is the future, though. I got Facebook open in one window, and I got Google open in another window. This is just like the future. Okay, we're almost ready to start. I'll start the story in a second here. We got 24 viewers. That's enough for me. That's enough for little old me. Okay? I don't need a whole, you know, I don't need to captivate a nation. I'm cool with just telling you guys a cool story. And what a story it is. What a tale. This is the boring story. It's probably going to make you mad. You should leave now. You shouldn't watch this. All right. We'll go soon. Is anybody, can someone, fuck, man. I got candles going. Can you see the reflection in my glasses? Got the candles going. This is cool, man. Okay, we'll start now. All right, so this is a, going to close that window. So this is a story. This is a boring story, and but it has to be told, and I'm the only one that's ever going to tell it because this guy's dead now, and anybody else he told it to would have thought that he's a crackpot after about 5 minutes of listening to him. And the only reason I listened to him for long enough to get to the bottom of it was because I was worried that he was going to try to rape me or kill me or something if I left. All right, so this is a story about a guy named Larry and his father. Now, Larry's not the real name. I forgot his real name. I forgot his father's real name. But I met him on the road. I am a man of the road. I like to feel the wind in my hair. I like to go on adventures. This is my OkCupid profile. And I met this guy, and it was in a gas station bathroom. No, I'm kidding about that. But his name was Larry, and he was just this crazy bum. Hold on a second. Let me take a sip of this hot coffee right here. That is good, fresh, hot coffee in a nice, clean glass container. You can see right there the clean glass. And it's hot coffee because this is whatever, it's water, but it's whatever I imagine it to be. And right now I'm imagining it to be hot coffee. I could also imagine it to be, you know, cold, sweet soda. I'm going to imagine that for a second. Hold on. Oh, that's some good root beer. I invite you to try that yourself. It's a little trick I learned in the Army. Now, anyway, I met Larry, and he was crazy. He was out there. If you met Larry, you would have thought to yourself, this guy's probably been struck in the head by lightning more than a few times. He gave me the impression of somebody who had been hit by a bus and dragged for a while. It didn't seem like he had like drug or alcohol related problems, but he definitely had some sort of traumatic brain damage type stuff going on. And it was cool because he was talking about 3 inches from my face, and I could smell his stinking bum breath. And there was really no quarter. I was kind of cornered, and I had to listen to this guy. And as long and drawn out and boring as my story is, his was 10 to 20 times longer. For the first half an hour, not exaggerating, the first 30 minutes, all I got out of Larry was, my dad is the top student. My dad was the top student. Yeah, my dad was number 1, 2, 3, the top student, the best student in the whole country, the whole world, as a matter of fact, the best student. My dad was he was number 1 for 20 minutes at least. If we're going to be perfectly straight up, not exaggerating, at least 20 minutes of that. The whole time I'm like prodding him, like, what do you mean he's the top student? What are you talking about? What do you mean? He gets a little bit more detailed. My dad, he won all the prizes. He won the 1, 2, 3 prize. He won the best boy prize. He won the top of the world prize. Can you guys hear this? That would be pretty fucked up if I did a half-hour-long story and I didn't. There was no audio. Test. Checks out okay. Here we go. So his dad was the top student. He won all the prizes. He won the key prize. He won the prize du jour. He won the Grand Prix. He won the Grand Prix prize. So after a while, I start putting the pieces together, and it's I guess what the deal was that his dad, who was a first-generation Greek immigrant. Now, this is back in the 30s and 40s. Back then, Greek people were worse than blacks. When JFK was elected president, it was a big deal because JFK was the first Irish Catholic president. He was the first president that wasn't a blue blood Anglo-Saxon Kennebunk or Kennebunkport or whatever Maine guy like the Bushes and all the other folks. So, hey laddie, we finally got a president of our own, eh? The Irish mix were very pleased that they had their lace curtain, drinking, womanizing president. He's a good guy. Anyway, so Irish Catholic, that was very controversial, becoming president. Greeks were the untouchables, the Indian caste system. Greeks, it was legal to spit in a Greek man's face. It was legal to kick Greeks in the testicles if you saw them, if they bothered you. So his dad had a really hard time, especially because, as I found out, his dad was an architect. And his dad was rolling in these Ivy League circles. He was involved in academia, and the prizes were all architectural prizes. Now, you folks out there, if you don't have an appreciation for architecture, please look into it. Go on Tumblr and search for tags for, look up brutalism, look up Art Deco, look at some cantilevered houses, some modern homes, but architecture, out of all the things that people do, there are practical things that people do, there are time-wasting things that people do, and then there are most of the arts are time-wasting things, but a small section of the arts are things that uplift humanity out of the sewage, and architecture is right there at the top leading the way. Architecture is one of the most fantastic and impressive things that human beings can do. So his dad was a very promising architecture student, allegedly. According to Larry, his dad was the top student of architecture in the world. So what happens next? One side note, I thought it was funny the way that Larry, who was not an architect or anything, but he was trashing Frank Lloyd Wright, and I thought that was so funny. Frank Lloyd Wright is the ultimate, the biggest cock of the walk architect of all time. Oh, he's just so beautiful, it's so beautiful. But his anyway, it was funny hearing this bum guy talking about Frank Lloyd Wright like his stuff was trash, and the Frank Lloyd Wright's most famous or masterpiece building, was it Falling Water or whatever? It's in Pittsburgh, I think. But he was like, yeah, dude, that building sucked, bro. That building sucked, man. It collapsed, and they had to rebuild it like a dozen times, man. Frank Lloyd Wright sucks. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, so his dad is winning prizes left and right. Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Sorbonne, and even when the odds are stacked against him, even when the architecture professors allegedly are rigging the contest so that the poor first-generation Greek immigrant guy doesn't win because they give the architecture students problems to solve, and the problems they gave the Greek guy were harder or impossible. They gave him impossible problems. He solved them. They gave him the hardest problems that were not possible. They were trying to steamroll him out of there. Top student solved them all. But after school, he didn't have any opportunities for work. He couldn't get a job, at least doing the sort of high-profile, prestigious, like, or working for prestigious, high-profile firms or whatever, because he was first-generation Greek, which is it was a big deal back then, I guess. But then what happened was World War II came along, and they had need of talented engineers and architects, and they didn't care what the pedigree was. And so, according to Larry, his father designed a missile factory. He designed a missile factory. So it was World War II, and my father, he designed a missile factory. He designed a missile factory. He won the prizes. He won the Grand Prix. He won the 1, 2, 3 prize. And so World War II, he designed a missile factory. And my father, he's the only person ever to have gotten His Majesty's highest degree of First Order, the best in the world, the Platinum Edition, deputy from a standing admiral. Now, he was the deputy admiral, highest order in the nation, and it was a great honor. He says all this like pseudo-military bullshit, like unbelievable string of words that can't possibly be a military rank, like a bunch of bullshit, saying that his father was a deputy admiral. This is going on. This is about an hour into the story. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm like curious. I want to hear like what kind of like. It's just crazy. I'm watching a crazy person. He pulls me into this back room, and I'm getting ready. I'm thinking he's gonna like pull his pants down or something. I'm thinking he's gonna you know do one of these on me right here. You know, I'm thinking I'm in store for one of these. Pulls me in the back room, and he produces from under a table or behind a couch or something this pile of like shitty, unorganized papers. It's a fucking mess. There are like 3 cats. It's just a mess. He produces this giant piece of parchment paper with beautiful calligraphy on it, and it says exactly the string of incoherent shit that he said. Not His Majesty, but His Majesty's highest order of the land hereby deputizes so-and-so Souvlakis, whatever his dad's name was that I forgot, as journeyman ambassador admiral. This signed this day, something 1945, Admiral Johnson, or whoever. And I looked these names up later. This is from years ago, but after he told me the story, the names were still fresh in my head. And so I looked them up, and it was the admiral of the United States Navy, the top guy during World War II, had actually made the Greek guy a admiral, deputy admiral, whatever the fuck. So I guess the admiral of the United States Navy was friends with the CEO of Alcoa or the U.S. Steel or something like that. Some sort of steel concern that brought him to Pittsburgh. Well, he was already in Pittsburgh. He went to Carnegie Tech. But the next thing that happened was that all of a sudden Larry's dad was rolling with like high. Oh shit! I forgot. So he's the admiral, and then he goes on his computer. He has this like Hot Wheels EPC like piece of shit computer. It's 800 by 600 resolution. He pulls me over to this too and shows me this after the piece of paper, and it's the whole desktop is covered with every like bad icon, every kind of like bloatware imaginable, like my Easy PC Cleaner, Tweezle, like all these things you're not supposed to install. He's got them. He goes into my documents. He goes into my pictures. There's this string of like terribly organized files. Like makes no sense. Numbers as names. He knows exactly where to go, which shows me that he thinks about this every single fucking day. And I guarantee you, he tried to tell this story to everybody else that he ever talked to. And he pulls up a picture of what his father did for the U.S. Navy during World War II. And it's a missile assembly plant of some sort. Giant. Trains coming in from left and right. And in the center of this thing is a big rotating platform. Missiles go in on one end, the platform rotates. It's like huge, monolithic, made of cement. Missiles come out the other side. It looks so complicated and so elegant. It's like one of those gay watches that people waste money on with the complications. How many complications does your Roadmaster watch have? One of those things. But it's very like beautiful engineering. And his dad was the name signed on the blueprint. He was the lead designer of this thing. Like amazing. So one of this guy's crazy bullshit things ended up being very true. So after this happened, after his father completes this project, he's now the deputy admiral for the guy who's friends with the head of U.S. Steel and Alcoa and the Mellons and the Carnegies, which are like the Rockefellers. They're based in Pittsburgh. He's now in high circle. He's in high society. He's rolling around with the big dudes. And he starts getting all these crazy projects thrown at him. And Larry tells me that his dad is commissioned to design a hospital. And he's like, this hospital is this is an hour and a half into the story.
the hospital that he designed this fantastic, beautiful hospital, and it's so beautiful, and it had thousands more beds in it than any other hospital, and it was designed to keep the running costs down, and it was going to be cheaper. It was going to be 10 times cheaper than any other hospital. It was just a beautiful hospital. And he shows me a picture, and it's not a concept. It was like an architectural architectural drawing, and it was a beautiful hospital. And I don't know anything about healthcare or anything, but I believe what he said about it, like keeping costs down. It was just so well organized and so fantastic, and it was just awesome. And he's like, and then my dad, they gave him the whole city of Pittsburgh to redesign. They made him design the whole city of Pittsburgh. They told him to design the whole city of Pittsburgh. And I was like, oh man, Larry's going off the wheels, off the tracks here. He's going crazy. He pulls out a blueprint, and it has the whole city of Pittsburgh, and it looks like the city of the future. This is the time before the United States steel industry was second to China. This is when the U.S. Steel was top dog. Pittsburgh was the city of the future. It wasn't some shithole slum with a few nice neighborhoods that it is now, and a nice university. It was the city of the future. It was the Jetsons, all that shit. The map is absolutely fantastic, like unbelievable. I'm going to start to tear up if I think about the story in its entirety. And there was a stadium. I think they might have torn it. They might have tore it down, but there was a stadium. He didn't get to build the whole city of Pittsburgh. They decided not to. They decided to give it to somebody else. That's part of a different thing. But he did design a stadium. The stadium, it was like some alien. And this was a real stadium. It was, if you look up whatever the Pittsburgh faggot football team stadium was a few years ago, you'll see it. And the whole cool thing about it was that it had a dome, and the dome was not designed for inefficiency. It was designed like some sort of art object, like an alien, like monolith, like an ancient Egyptian thing with a massive. It wasn't designed for efficiency. It was a massive piece of steel, like 1,000,000 tons or something. And Larry was explaining all the great things. It's the biggest piece of suspended steel ever, and it still is, and it rotated perfectly, and it kept it cool and it made it warm. And it opened. It looks like something you'd see in a Egyptian burial vault or something. And it's gleaming in the sun. If you look at Google satellite photos of it. So his dad designs that, and then Larry starts talking about some real crazy shit. He says, then they wanted my dad. This is taking an hour, and to be honest, an hour. This is about an hour and a half, if we're not exaggerating, but that's real. And then my dad designed the floating city. They had my dad design the floating city. He designed the floating city, and obviously Larry has been like sniffing paint or something. He is so damaged. He has no short-term memory of what he's saying. He's just saying things because I have to remind him of what he just said. And he's just like babbling, and he pulls out another piece, another like beautiful scroll that's tucked under his desk with the 3 cats crawling all over it. And it's the 1950 or whatever World's Fair, and the World's Fair exhibition pods are all like suspended on like steel rods or something, and it looked like what the fuck is that movie? Lord of the Rings. It looked like some sort of elvish city, but it also looked like it could have worked. Like knowing that his father was like this brilliant engineer and architect or whatever, it probably could have worked. But he never got to design that. And he's telling me all this stuff, like the Carnegie and Mellon, like the Rockefeller of their industry, of the steel industry. They were like horrible pieces of shit. And he's telling me that they sold out. They sold the entire like U.S. steel industry to China. Like they sold the whole. They sold out basically, like giving for whatever perks they got personally. And part of the deal was that I.M. Pei, the famous architect who designed the pyramid at the Louvre, who was also the son of the CEO of the Bank of China or something. I'm getting all the specifics wrong because this was years ago. I didn't write any of this down, and I didn't know what to do with it. But anyway, IMPay, part of the deal, the U.S. steel industry being sold out to China, part of that whole bargain. And obviously, I don't know if this is real. This is just what Larry said. But everything else that he said was a real thing that was on a piece of paper. So I have no reason to believe that he's like completely making things up. But part of the deal was that the CEO of the Bank of China was like, "Oh yes, I want my son to be famous architect, so he is going to design. He's going to design all the things now." And if you look up IMPay, it might have been IMPay that got to design the city of Pittsburgh. I'm starting to sound like a crazy old bum now because I'm telling the story of a crazy old bum. But like I said at the beginning, this is a boring story or a whatever story, haphazardly done, and nobody else probably has ever heard a word of it. When this was all said and done, the names were still fresh in my memory. I looked everything up online, and it's all like real stuff, except his father's name is nowhere to be found. There is one single website. It's not Wikipedia. It's not a big website at all. It's like a little like tiny like personal house architecture firm in Pittsburgh where his father's name is mentioned as a side note. That's it. And on all these documents that he's showing me, his father's name is featured prominently as the lead designer, the chief designer, or whatever. So we get to the crux of the story, and he is like borderline about to cry. He's like, he just looks very uncomfortable. He starts talking about how his father is having a hard time fitting in with the blue blood the American aristocrat, like Mad Men crowd. He's a short little Greek guy. They all look at him like he's a piece of shit. But he goes to a party. He goes to one of their parties, and they start passing around a bowl. And the men are putting their car keys into that bowl, and he finds out that it's a key party, and what they do is they pick out the key, and then whatever guy's car that is, they take that car, they take the guy's wife, and they go fuck the guy's wife. It was a wife-swapping party. The elites of 1950s Pittsburgh were doing wife-swapping parties. And his dad did not want to participate, and because of that, according to Larry, because he didn't want the other guys to fuck his wife, they totally steamrolled him. After that, he never had another architecture gig. They just like fucked him, and so that was when I realized that the reason Larry is probably crazy, and he didn't strike me as like drug crazy. He didn't have the look of somebody who's like pounding Klonopin or drinking themselves to death or anything. He just looked like a broken man, and the reason he was probably crazy is because every day he thought about how his promising, brilliant father was destroyed because he didn't want a bunch of guys banging his wife. I think if there's anything else in that story. No, that's about it. I mean, sorry if that wasn't like relevant or interesting, but I think about that from time to time, and it's just like an awful thing. And there's no even whispers of that guy's name online, so I figured I better tell it. And I wanted to try out this cool new Google Hangouts. This Google Hangouts so cool! All right. What's next? What else is there? We have some videos we shot. We are coming out with a book, a 400-page book of Nick Rocheford's cartoons. Charles Carroll's crazy. Charles's cartoons are fucked, man. They're the craziest thing I've ever seen. I don't know where they are. And then I have some cartoons, and we all have some like, essays and stuff, and it's going to be 400 pages, black and white. It's going to be a very nice project for you guys. T-shirts. have been taking forever, and I'm really sorry about that. But the first printer we talked to, he jerked me around for like 2 weeks, and then finally he was like, I think this is a little too controversial. And finally, the other, the backup printer just sent these ink samples today. This is not MDE design, but we're going to go with this glitter ink. We'll probably do like blue or something, blue on white. I don't know. If you have any opinions about that. Actually, maybe something even more fucked, like green on red or something. And that's about it. More videos will be trickling out. T-shirts are coming. Book is coming. Something really crazy is coming, but I can't tell you about that. And then after that, something even crazier is coming. And I cannot tell you about that. And I'm sorry. But we have like 20 videos that we shot that we're sitting around waiting to edit. So I hope something about this was interesting to you folks. And I'm sorry I don't see on this Google Hangout shit, there's not really any chatting. There's a chat box and it's empty. So I don't know why you guys aren't chatting with me. But I did take some nude photos of myself earlier, and I'll be posting those to Facebook. That's it. Have a good day. Take vitamin D. If you're in an area that's you're not getting enough sun, take a lot of vitamin D. I'm taking 10,000 IUs a day, and that's probably unsafe, but I feel great. That's probably because I'm losing my mind. Goodbye.